Hey everyone, today I wanted to look at the Iridescent Add-Ons of Dead by Daylight and discuss them because they're sort of strange. Some are great, some are terrible, and others are more unique or me. There's never really been clear criteria for them. I suppose this is the case for add-ons more widely, but definitely for Iridescents. Today I want to try and find a criteria for them, a fair thing that can apply to them all and make them all worthwhile and worthy of their quality. We'll look over all the different categories of the strong ones, the weak ones, the more memey ones, and try and find a good middle ground between them, a perfect iridescent add-on, or iridescent add-on criteria. As always, let me know your thoughts too down below, and let's get into it. First, let's look at the ones that are way too busted and overpowered. Myers comes to mind first of all, with debatably the strongest Iri add-ons in the game. Infinite tier 3 with one, and the ability to Mori everyone with the second. What's so odd about these two is that they've never been nerfed and actually have only been buffed. It goes to show that these are not seen as problems, and this could potentially be because they're on Myers, a character considered by some to be the weakest in the game. Despite this, people really don't like facing these add-ons. It's actually why Myers is so tough to place on a tier list, because his add-ons wildly change how he plays. Should that be the intention of an Iri add-on? To throw the character up the tier list simply by running them? I personally don't think so, but I do agree they should be strong. They should be worthy of that iridescent quality, or ultra rare really. They're actually ultra rare add-ons. I always just call them iridescent. So which are fair and strong iridescent add-ons? Well, I think honestly a lot have achieved this balance. Iridescent King and Queen for Doctor are actually great examples, I think, of well-made strong Iri add-ons. Add-ons that do deserve their rarity, but equally don't make you so overpowered it's unfair. They're both good, I think, and even have unique effects attached to them that make them a little more interesting too. However, I would never say that they push that territory of feeling overpowered. Wraith's add-on, the Coxcomb Clapper, provides a completely silent bell. It's strong, but considering the character, it's fine. His other All-Seeing Spirit is another one that allows you to see generator progress when cloaked, an ability that's, again, strong, but works perfectly fine for him. When it comes to the stronger characters, there's even cases with strong Iri add-ons too that I would consider fair. Add-ons such as Billy's Iridescent Engravings balance power quite well. It makes your chainsaw movement speed even faster by 20%, but there's a downside of increasing charge time by 12%. An interesting case of an Iri containing a nerf, which may seem unfair for the power level of the add-on. However, it's balanced out well with the strength being far more beneficial. There are equally ones that walk the line of overpowered even with these downsides, such as Mother-Daughter Ring, a famously considered overpowered add-on. This add-on trades a 25% increase in power movement speed with the loss of one of your main tracking tools when phasing, which is scratch marks. It's quite an interesting trade-off, but despite this huge nerf is still considered strong and good, and it's largely because the effect of the increased movement speed is such an incredible improvement to her power. I would even say in its current state that this add-on is pretty fair too. Pinhead is another character who I think has very strong add-ons despite them also having some downsides. Take Engineer's Fang, which unlocks the incredible ability to injure healthy survivors with chain shots, but as a consequence spawns one less chain when landing a possessed chain shot, and takes slightly longer to close the gateway. It's a trade-off, but the trade-off is still largely in favor of strength over weakness, which I think is the clear distinguishing factor. The main takeaway for me from the strong iridescent add-ons is that they should be strong, but they need consequence for great strength, and they shouldn't be so strong that the other side stands no chance, a bit like the Myers ones. A fear factor, but not to the point of giving up. Next, let's take a look at the iridescents considered bad. Some do provide effects that are just straight bad, in fairness. The more unique ones we'll tackle later. I want to look at just the straight up bad for now. Hellshire Iron is a great example of an add-on that's just bad. It's an add-on that makes you undetectable after landing a spear shot, a bizarre add-on that provides little to no effect or buff to your gameplay. It's sort of confusing what it is meant to buff or provide you with. Iridescent Wooden Plank, which provides a 12-second window of exposed at the end of Nightfall. This is bad mainly by its restriction to this very specific point, when it may not be possible to land a hit. Dredge's other iridescent 2, the Sacrificial Knife, blocks vault locations within 16 meters after exiting a locker for 5 seconds. This again is just so specific and restrictive, mainly by its numbers and duration, and by the fact that when someone hits a locker, they're running, they're getting out of the area. It's not going to have much effect. Iridescent Feather, which makes you undetectable when your power is on cooldown and reduces your number of crows by 1. It's a fairly useless ability paired with what is debatably a nerf, Knight's Contract, which makes it so every 4th guard summoned causes survivors within 12 meters to become exposed for 8 seconds, an add-on that is so crazily specific to that situation and has such a unique set of circumstances that it's just sort of straight up bad. On the less extreme end of things, we have add-ons that are just incredibly middle of the road and sort of boring, and they end up being bad in the sense that they don't deserve their quality. These are ones that are largely providing an effect of some kind that does buff you, but in a really insignificant way. Take Soldier's Putty for example, an add-on that makes you ever so slightly faster when out of hatchets as Huntress, a mildly useful and helpful effect, but not an iridescent one. I could see this reasonably being a common or an uncommon effect, maybe up into rare, but even that I would say is pushing it. We then have many of the ones that add random durations of exposed, and this is the standard for it to be iridescent, because it applies a strong status effect. However, you can quickly see that this doesn't work out all too well. Adding exposed to an add-on doesn't just instantly make it powerful or strong or worthwhile. Iridescent Umbrella Badge, for example, provides a 60-second duration of exposed after using a vaccine. This is not only an unideal time for this to apply, with them likely using this in safety, but further is only a situation possible up to 4 times a match at base. Just because the exposed status is there, it doesn't make it good. This seems to be sort of a trend too, with a lot of iridescent add-ons relying on exposed. Iridescent Coin, Iridescent Pendant, Garden of Rot, Iridescent Wooden Plank, and so on. Some of them make it sort of work, like Iridescent Coin is a decent risk-reward situation, but a bunch of the others there just apply it in very bizarre circumstances, and at specific times, or times that do not benefit you. So to me, the weakest side of Iri add-ons are generally ones that are also less interesting or have dull effects like exposed applied. However, there are sort of exceptions to some of these bad iridescents. Take a character like Nurse, say. Do we really want her to have super busted add-ons too? I don't. Torn Bookmark, which is still very strong by the way, provides 3 blinks instead of 2, and a longer recharge time of 30%. This is about the limit you can go to with a character like this, and even so most people prefer to play with 2 blinks because the recharge time and movement just generally feels better. Her other Iri add-on, Matchbox, sets her max blinks to 1 and makes her a 4.4 instead of a 3.85. Even this is still perfectly usable, but generally weaker because it's 1 less blink. In this case, I would not want these to be any stronger. Nurse is a case in fact for Iris going in the direction of fun and varied playstyles instead of power, and being incredibly strong. But equally, she's hardly a good mark point for what add-on design should be, seeing as she barely plays the same game the other characters do. In the context of these stronger characters, we don't want them to have high-end add-ons, even if they are iridescent. I do think they should still buff the character, but possibly be the only ones that do significantly in their entire kit, and not do so to the point of making them overpowered. This is equally not a rule that the second best character in the game followed for a long time, the Blight, with him having a history of very overpowered iridescent add-ons. His current ones, I would say, are actually quite well adjusted, despite originally being much more overpowered. It's not necessarily a bad thing that has to be this way or has to be a case of adjusting to the character's power level, but I do think it works best when iridescent add-ons are designed with the character power level in mind. It makes sense why some characters have Iris that are sort of mid. Nurse has okay iridescence, and someone like Trapper, say, needs really powerful iridescence. To me, that seems pretty fair. My main takeaway from the weak iridescent add-ons is that they're largely weak because they're far too specific. They rely on effects like exposed, which are tough to balance, and finally because they're on already substantially strong characters. Therefore, I think that iridescent add-ons should do their best to not rely on exposed or other strong effects, and should try to adjust their power level based based on the character they are on. In the same way that nurses are quite weak, it does make sense for someone like Myers to have stronger add-ons. The final type of category for Iri add-ons are ones that provide unique effects, but generally aren't very powerful despite this. Whilst most iridescents seem to aspire to provide a strong effect, some seem to go in the direction of trying to be interesting or unique. This is where a big divide seems to happen, and where I think there is a big division for iridescent add-ons, and the vision behind them. Are they meant to be the strongest add-ons a character can have, or are they meant to be something unique that adjusts your playstyle? Can it be both? Take an add-on like Waterlogged Shoe. It provides a substantial bonus to your base movement speed as Hag, the fastest in fact any character can get, yet it removes your ability to teleport, which is the strongest part of your power. This is the extreme end of iridescent add-ons that play on the idea of providing a very unique way to play the character, unobtainable by any other means. Hag, a slow teleporting character, becomes the fastest base moving in the game, and relies on traps to primarily scare people and pull away attention. It's a completely different killer power almost. We can see adjustments in playstyles across many iridescent add-ons, such as Obsidian Goblet, Iridescent Photocard, Videotape, Amanda's Letter, Iridescent Videotape, Mint Rag, Family Crest, Renjiro's Bloody Glove, Iridescent Unpublished Manuscript, Iridescent Head, and quite a few more. These don't quite do it to the same extent as Waterlogged Shoe, but you get the idea. These add-ons open up opportunities to play in a very unique way that may not even be accessible anywhere else. They provide effects that alter the game in unexpected ways, sometimes in a strong way and other times in a detrimental way. So are iridescent add-ons okay being like this? Should iridescent add-ons provide these varied and sometimes silly effects despite their rarity? To me, it's sort of a yes with an asterisk. I do appreciate these varied abilities and unique effects, but I do think they equally should provide a clear buff when doing so. It should be an undeniable positive change, even if it's more of a diagonal change instead of a straight upward change, if that makes sense. If we want other memey effects that are mostly downsides but provide fun, then there's other add-on rarities for that. In recent years, they've started to remove and stop adding the common meme add-ons, which I think is a big shame. That's the perfect tier for silly effects that may negatively change your game. It's a trade-off of, well, you can run this, but it's not going to help you, hence the low tier. For Iri add-ons to fulfill this role, I think doesn't make much sense. Any other tier even, I think it's possible depending on the ability, but I think for Iris specifically, a unique effect which overall nerfs you just shouldn't really happen. Unique effects, sure, but they equally should provide you with an overall buff, or at the very least not a nerf, a neutral change of effect that alters something. My overall takeaway from here is that Iris should have unique and fun effects, but these effects should not be the only thing that they do have. There should still be strength in the add-on. Having a bit of spice and flavor to these add-ons I think is really important and helps to define them too, but I think it needs to be a change for the better. So what do I think is the perfect example of a well-made iridescent add-on? Well, I think there's actually quite a few, and lots you mentioned too when we were discussing this. Add-ons that slightly adjust how you might play, but do so whilst buffing you in an impactful, fair and interesting way. Iridescent Stone for Trapper provides a unique effect of reopening traps, which is a clear buff for a character who is considered largely weak. Fuming Mixtape for Legion provides generator progress through aura intensity, and also a small amount of regression when in frenzy. A fair, interesting and clear buff for them. It also adds a cool additional audio effect of a unique chase music track. This would be awesome to have actual audible or visible differences with Iri add-ons across the board, but I know that's probably quite unreasonable. Iridescent King and Queen, as I mentioned before, I think are also really well done, with fun and balanced effects, but clear improvements. There's a lot of examples, I think, of great Iri add-ons currently too. This really isn't meant to be a video bashing them. Before I discuss what I think would be the perfect way to design Iri add-ons, I want to quickly cover Survivor Iri add-ons, which comes down to just 4 different add-ons. Anti-hemorrhagic syringe, gel dressings, brand new part and odd bulb. When I asked you all about these two, there was actually quite a positive response. Anti-hemorrhagic syringe was considered largely fair, which I agree with, to be honest. It is very strong with it fully healing a health state, but it equally takes 16 seconds to kick in, giving a risk factor, and requiring the same time as a teammate's heal would. Gel dressings and odd bulb were both considered underwhelming, providing largely just boring effects, although fairly good ones. Brand new part was the one that was the most disliked, and likely for its ability to knock 10% off of a generator instantly. I mean, it's understandable, and can substantially change a game. For these, I would just like to see something more interesting for the gel dressings and odd bulb, and then a slight nerf to brand new part, and then I think Survivor Eerie add-ons are in a perfectly fine spot. As a final conclusion, I want to look at what I think an Eerie add-on should be, and how it should fit into the game. If I had to write down a sort of list of things that an Eerie add-on should be, and fulfill, this would be it. 1. It has to buff you in a notable way. 2. It provides a unique effect or alteration to your power. 3. If it has a downside, the downside does not eclipse the upside. 4. It should be one of the best add-ons the character has. 5. It should take into account the power level of the character it is on. That's a fair set of criteria, I think, and does allow for the Ares to function in the game well. Of course, this is just a theorized rule set for what I think would make Ares more fun and worthwhile across the board. Let me know what you think, along with any thoughts or ideas you have too, down below. Thanks, and goodbye.